this very first episode, what's crazy about this, we basically identified the original OG of revenge porn. So everyone thinks it's Hunter Moore, and that's where revenge porn started. And what was fascinating about this case is that I identified someone who was doing this back in 2005 on completely different websites. And this is what happened. He would have an ad out there that he was looking for models, and he was paying $60 an hour. So these 18 to 20-year-old girls were responding. And when they would show up on location, they would find out that he wanted them to undress, but he wanted to do it in public places. He wanted to do it on the Mulholland Bridge during rush hour, have a woman get naked on the bridge, and he'd take pictures there, in front of a department store, in front of a school playground, very crazy fetish type stuff. And this is what this first episode is about, because unfortunately, he didn't use his real name, so no one could identify him. And what this guy was doing was, instead of just keeping it for his personal portfolio and for the victim's portfolio, that's where he promised that's all they would go to. He put them on all these different websites, and one website in particular with their real names, and it destroyed these women's lives. So this was back in 2005. How crazy is that?
Yeah. What does the average person need to know about, how you look at the landscape of cyberbullying? And because it has become, the way I asked, I'm asking the question that way because, look, if I opened up my X feed right now, I would be getting just bullied to death all over the place. In fact, I just retweeted someone who accused me of running for Senate against someone who just had a brain injury. And I said, wow. I think that was Oz. That was not me. But the point is, the bullying is so ubiquitous right now. Where do we draw the lines? When do people need your help? How do we understand what the world is like right now?
Yeah, and you back in the day said something that has always stuck with me. You said addiction is not a curable condition. And that is what it seems like social media and bullying has become. People are addicted to it. And especially if they're doing it behind a sock account where it's not their real identity and they know that they can get away with a lot. I really primarily focus, though, on sextortion and revenge porn, image-based sexual abuse. So sextortion, I'm sure you probably know this stat, Dr. Drew, but suicide rate is the highest right now between 14 and 16-year-old boys who are getting sextorted online. So they'll get catfished by someone thinking it's a female from another school, and they'll exchange photos. And then you find out it's not a girl from another school. It's a guy who's 40 years old from another country who's now trying to extort you. And it gets pretty crazy. I was just working on a case where not only were they trying to extort the kid and the family, this guy created a website in the kid's name. Let's just say John Smith, johnsmith.com. That's not the real name, but, and put naked images of that child on that site with a counter that said, you have 48 hours to pay $5,000, or here's where this photo is going. And they had the list of all of the parents' email addresses for everyone they worked with at their company. Wow. Brutal stuff. So that's been my wheelhouse. And then obviously image-based sexual abuse, because this one case, the A&E show, it's Tuesday, 9:00 Central. You have to watch it because imagine that this happens to you as a female when you're 18 years old. This guy takes these photos, puts them everywhere with a real name, refuses to take them down. And then she says, all right, I got to move on with my life. She becomes a school teacher in California. She gets her teacher credentials. She gets her college degree. She gets married. She has a child. She has completely moved on and has been removed from this for almost 2 decades. She gets an email in 2024 at her school along with the faculty, and it has a link. And when she clicked on the link, it was all those images from back in 2009. And she had to leave her job because of it.
I'm actually surprised that kind of thing doesn't happen more often from people who have left relationships, or does it? Does it happen more than we know?
It happens all the time. I mean, I probably have 1,000 emails a week of people who are dealing with some kind of level of image-based sexual abuse. It's terrifying. And at least Google has stepped up quite a bit, where there's a form you can fill out online on Google if you have your image out there, and you fill it out and they'll remove it. The problem with that, where people don't realize, where that's great that they do that, but those images also live on the dark web. I guarantee you all those images live on the dark web. And as you know, the dark web is completely unregulated. There's no one you can contact to have images taken down. So that's where someone like me comes in, because I'm a total nerd who had no friends in high school. And that's what I do. I help these people get their images down.
And how do you even know if that's happening to you? You know what I mean? I would imagine by the time you figure it out, it's already happened.
Yeah, I mean, so back to the school teacher, she was saying that the first day of school, the parents are Googling her just to see her credentials and where else she has worked. And the first thing that comes up are all those naked images. And I'm not talking like 5 or 10. She had over 500 of her images plastered all over the web on at least 20 different sites.
And people can always, and you mentioned the dark web, but people can also take a snapshot of anything, and then that's it. That can go anywhere, right?
That's right. And that's why, with the Netflix, The Most Hated Man, that thing keeps going viral every September and October, every single year. It goes back into the top 10 because teachers of like juniors and seniors especially are saying, hey, if your parents give you permission, you need to watch this docuseries. So you know that if you're on Snapchat and you send an image and you think that it's not going to be saved, you're sadly mistaken. And here are the consequences of that. And I think it's honestly scaring the shit out of a lot of kids, which is pretty much what you have to do at this point to get through to them. They see that image, they see what can happen. It's not you talking to them about it. They see it on the big screen and see the devastating effects that can have.
I feel like we've made progress with adolescents. I really do, because some of them were charged with felonies, for trafficking child porn. And if they received one of those pictures, they were trafficking child porn. And if they showed it to their buddies, they're trafficking again in child porn. So I think they got that message. I'm wondering what remedies adults have, though. I mean, it's just you. I got to call James Gibney to go after it. Are there legal remedies?
So there are. You can hire. So back to this case with this woman, she hired an attorney to try and get these images taken down, and she spent thousands of dollars and got nowhere with it. A lot of these guys who run these sites, they don't care about any of that. They don't care about cease and desist. That means nothing to them. So, do you remember that story? I think you remember with Hunter Moore when Facebook reached out to him when he was in his heyday with his Anyone Up and sent a cease and desist because his followers were finding out where that victim, where her parents worked, her home address, work address, and they were posting it underneath the photos, and millions of people are stalking them simultaneously. Yeah, so they sent a cease and desist, and you know what Hunter's response was? He sent a picture of his penis. That was his response to Meta. So that's the type of person that I deal with on a daily basis, someone who gives two shits about the law.
That's a good human being. But I'm guessing that's the person that would engage in that kind of extortion, even if it's one-on-one, that's that kind of person, right?
Yeah, and I remember you interviewed him. You interviewed him in Charlotte right after everything went down, and you shredded him, but Charlotte absolutely destroyed him, just completely calling out all of his bullshit. He was trying to worm his way out of it, and that was a fantastic interview. I don't know if you remember it, but between the two of you, doctors were just... I
think, I didn't know the full... I couldn't, until I don't think the documentary was out yet, or I hadn't seen it or something, so I didn't get the full spectrum of what he was up to. But I think we did that on HLN. Is that possible?
That's right.
I think that was. Yeah.
That was. Yep.
Yeah. And I remember the thing that got me was how full of shit he was. That's what got me sort of going. It's like, wait a minute, come on now. So, but
go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
No, dude, go ahead.
Okay. I want to give Caleb is very excited about us having you on the program today, and we this is his world. And we had a very challenging cyberbully situation that led to massive cancellation and all kinds of lovely things. And Caleb, I'll let you ask your questions and set that story up if you want.
Yeah, I don't think that it is mathematically possible for me to be a bigger fan of James here. I've been following you for a very long time. I saw you post about this upcoming TV show like 3 years ago, and then with TV, you just think, okay, maybe they're doing it, maybe it's not. And then all of a sudden it's going to be on TV. So I'm very excited for it. But let me tell you what happened to us. So this was right around the earliest times of the COVID pandemic. Some anonymous person went online, created all these brand new anonymous accounts under the name Dr. Droops, and they spent the time cutting together dozens of out of context clips of Drew talking about the pandemic, and then spread it around to the media, posted it online, got millions of views with all these out of context clips trying to ruin Drew's career and get him canceled. Now, Drew is, of course,
and let me just say, I want to add,
so.
but I want to add that he, one of the things he assiduously cut out was that every one of my comments, which were essentially, please calm down, I would say, and I made a habit of it, let Dr. Fauci be your North Star and just listen to the guys at the CDC. I've worked with these guys for years. They're very helpful. They'll get us through this.
Assuming it's a guy.
And that was the thing I got wrong.
That's right.
That was the one thing I got wrong. And unfortunately, that was cut out from all of it because at the time, it made me look like a reasonable person because I was saying that, but they cut all that out, which I'm kind of grateful for now because that's what I got wrong.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah. We have the opposite problem nowadays, now that we know. But we could never figure out who this person was. We could never find, he had created all new accounts. We had a couple of tiny little leads, but it just turned into this thing getting millions of views, and people constantly bring it up and replay it. We can't get I guess we haven't tried to get the accounts taken down. So I'm like, it's probably somewhat of a free speech, even though it's, copyright infringement and all that other stuff.
We tried.
What do we do in cases like that? Because on one hand, it's as a public figure, I think, Drew, you learn to just let it just brush it away and just, okay, it's another hater. But this one's really stuck out because someone put a lot of time and effort into taking Drew out of context to try to ruin his career. So what sort of stuff could we do for a case like that?
So, I don't know, 10 years ago, I would probably say, well, we should probably hire an attorney and we can see if we get a takedown request and maybe even go get a restraining order against this person and hopefully try to unmask them, because if you get a restraining order, you can start issuing subpoenas and see what it comes back. But I'll save you guys a lot of time and money, because what ends up happening with all of that is, so the subpoena results come back and you find out this is a pretty good guy. He's very technically astute. He's using VPN. So the IPs you get back are useless. They go nowhere and you just wasted a ton of money. So what I do is I have methods that I use where I can absolutely unmask someone like that. And once you unmask them and you put them in the court of public opinion, so my whole tagline is sometimes you have to be a bully to beat a bully. This guy or girl, whoever it is obviously bullying the shit out of you guys. So we have to bully him back. And that's exactly what I do. I would unmask him. I would pull him out of obscurity. I would put him on blast, and he would take the videos down because he knows that, this is just going to get progressively worse. So you just got to be a bigger bully than he is.
Yeah. See, that's why I'm glad James is on our side. I sleep so much better at night knowing that James is out there. I feel like there's like a guardian angel that's like just deflecting all of the cyber bullies and all the attackers. There's someone out there shielding us secretly behind the scenes. So I feel so much safer. I have other questions though, Drew.
Sure.
We still don't know who the guy is. Or
we have no idea.
Well, let's offline go through it, and I'm very positive I can figure it out.
Oh,
crazy!
That would be a joy. So I
think I know who it is. But
you know what? We could do an entire episode on it, of unmasking him and putting him on blast. That could be an entire episode.
We even talked to him,
like,
why and what?
Yeah, wait for the
of course, it has to be for AD. Yeah, 100%.
I'm in.
I worked on it for a month with a PR person who worked for an attorney, and we scoured everything. We did, I paid her money to help me, and we couldn't figure it out. We couldn't get any help from any of the YouTube or wherever it was posted. And I don't know. We had some ideas. It was such a crazy time.
Anyway, but this will be fun.
It's tough. You're a public figure, and that's the problem with being a public figure, is people can say whatever they want, and you're pretty limited to what you do. And even when we find out who he is, what's the point of suing him? Because he's probably some broke guy who's living in a basement with his shirt off, with Doritos all over his chest on his 6th Mountain Dew. Who doesn't have...
I had a feel. It seemed to me.
I think it's an attorney.
I think it's a physician, because he made a disclaimer at the very end. He said, "I'm washing my hands of this." And the way he spoke, he goes, because I got online, so there are death threats against my kids, against everybody because of this guy. And he goes, "I'm washing my hands of this whole affair," as though someone put him up to it or something. I don't know. I forget where that was.
So he stopped? So did he stop?
Oh, yeah.
Was there a point that he stopped?
He stopped, but of course the world didn't stop.
He didn't take it down,
and it kept going.
We should probably take screenshots of it before.
I'm sure I have
my
it
notes.
saved. I have every bit of evidence saved from when that happened. And I think it's less about prosecuting the person than it is, I want to see face to face. I want to see who is this? Why were they motivated to do this? And it's obvious they had to have known they were clipping things out of context because they found it. We didn't have AI clipping software back then. Someone did this manually and found all this stuff. But I actually have a different question.
We better make sure, hey, if you're out there, Dr. Droops, don't take it down, okay?
Yeah.
We want to get you on camera. Yeah, we'll give you the opportunity. He'll give him the opportunity to come on camera and talk to him and see what, why he did it. Some of the reasons are pretty crazy. Like it could be something where Dr. Drew said one thing that pissed him off, and that was all it took.
Jesus. Caleb, you have other questions?
That's why I think I know who it is.
Yeah,
Caleb?
so I very much enjoyed. I saw a screener episode of episode 1, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's actually people need to go watch it. You'll like it, even if you're not very familiar with computer terms and hacking terms and stuff like that. It's produced in a way that everybody will get it. Yeah. You'll really like it.
A&E is a great network, by the way. But is it going to go up somewhere else after the network airing? Does it go onto a streaming platform or something?
Yes, it does. The very next day, I believe it goes on Hulu, pay on Hulu and Amazon and all the other streaming services.
Okay, but set your DVR. He gets credit if you record it and watch it. So please do record it and watch it. Nevertheless, if you miss it, see it on Hulu. So there we go.
So
now, streaming.
So I watched it. I really enjoyed it. And it's not like you leave it on a cliffhanger there. It's like you actually get to see, I'm not going to spoil it, but you get to see the actual person in episode 1. So don't think it's going to be a cliffhanger. This is a full episode, guys. You'll enjoy it. Something that I noticed though, is that when you caught the guy who came on camera, there was a lot of apologetic words, but the person did not seem at all to be fully grasping the magnitude of destruction that he had placed on the lives of these women for so long. So have you noticed any sort of a pattern? I'm sure there's a lot of these people that you talked through the whole series. So have you noticed a pattern of the personality types of people who like flippantly stalk and harass total strangers from far away from the internet?
Yeah, and it was interesting. You're right, because I did get him to apologize. It was great, but I had people ask me, like, you're a Marine. Like, the second you saw him, why didn't you just knock him out? I'm like, well, for starters, I would never do that. Violence solves nothing. But you got to keep in mind, this guy had over 1,000 photos of all these victims, especially those 3 that were on there. And he was an asset to me. I was at Quantico, Virginia in the Marines for a while, and I work with the FBI a lot. And at some point when you're dealing with people like this, you can't think of them as people. They are an asset. And as an asset, I need him to help me take these images down because he runs the sites. So I don't, there's 2 ways you could go about it. Trying to get him to, do it the legal route or, the Bullyville smash and grab route. So I know,
buy his domain.
I know A&E would prefer I do the first route. So that's the route I try and take.
But have you noticed any patterns with anyone that wasn't in the episode 1, have you noticed patterns amongst the personality types of people that do this type of crime? Like, do they not care? Are they sociopaths?
For sure, sociopaths, but it's so much more than that. You can always find out from a psychological profiling perspective, they always, somewhere along the line, a woman broke their heart. So this guy, I know his backstory and I know what happened to him, and they take that vengeance and revenge, not only out on the person that they were dating, they just go apeshit, as you'll see in episode 1, and just go after anyone and everyone. He didn't know any of these women, by the way. He had never heard of them. He had never interacted with them, nothing. And he just decided to destroy their lives. And what was really sadistic about it was in the comments of the post, he would say things like, share this far and wide. I want you to humiliate this woman. I want you to degrade this woman. He used humiliate and degrade probably 40 times within all the posts. So that was one of the ways I was able to identify him. I have a database that I use, nerd shit, where I will study the vernacular of someone's speech. So for example, someone at the end of a sentence has 2 spaces before they have a period. That might sound like, well, if you find a whole bunch of that and the certain words that they use, and Dr. Drew, you know this shit very well. You're a pro at it. So that's basically, and that was the other thing. I had to try and find someone from 2000 that started in 2005. It's not easy to find a digital footprint from someone from decades ago. And the other thing that was tough, the victims all knew one thing. They knew the first initial to his first name, and that was it. So I had to go from billions of people to, so I find the one guy, I find the main guy, the photographer. I'm like, I got him. And then out of the blue, there's the second guy. And I'm like, who is this guy? And law enforcement was working on this. They had an open case, but they could not figure out either of this. They knew there was one person, but they didn't even know there was a second guy. So now I find two guys that are tag teaming, and they're destroying these women's lives. Whew.
So we just
proposed an episode for you where a male is getting cyberbullied. Is everybody all the other episodes about women?
No, there's another one that we're going through now that is a male, but oh my God, for sure, I want this case, 100%. Because we have a personal relationship, obviously, but yeah, and I didn't know any of this. So now that I know this, I'm obviously going to go scorched earth to find out who this person is. So we're going to get it all on film. We're going to bring him out of obscurity. And I can't wait to see your interaction with him once you know who it is. I'm curious to see how you're going to react when you're face to face with someone who's done the stalking and harassment of you and your kids. Whew.
Well, he didn't do my kids. He generated stuff towards my kids. It was so such a crazy time. People forget. That's what I was talking to Adam Carolla this morning, and people were complaining about a lot of stuff, that's happening with cancellations. And he just goes, "Where were you during COVID? Where were you? What happened? Why didn't that matter? And this matters. What's going on?" And nobody seemed to care about the cancellations during COVID. It was really something. Except I did, because I realized that they were canceling good people. That seemed to be part of the plan. And so I started talking to all the people that got canceled. And now one of them's the head of the NIH, one of them is the head of the HHS. And these were good people with a lot to offer. And I had never imagined the government was involved with it. That's the other part, James, I'd like you to look for. At that period, it's very clear the government got very involved with all of this, particularly as it pertained to silencing physicians. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was somebody in Washington. It would not surprise me. I don't know that that's the case, but it would not surprise me at all.
Oh, I can't wait. As soon as we're done with this call, I'm starting. I promise you that.
All right. Just as a sort of a last sort of conversation, part of our conversation, you were a Marine. Tell people about the arc of your life and how you got here.
So, it goes back, people always ask, like, why do I do what I do? Because I don't charge anyone to help them. I never have. And it really goes back to my childhood. I was born and raised in the South Bronx in New York. And I remember when I was 8 years old, I remember my dad beating the shit out of my mother with a frying pan. I remember the New York City Police Department coming in. I had a fully autistic brother. And from that moment on, I never saw my mother, my father, or my brother ever again to this day. Then I got sent into foster homes in New York City in the early 80s, which was atrocious. And I had some really awful experiences where, I would see an 8-year-old girl being, sexually assaulted by the foster dad and the foster mom. And, one incident, just awful stuff. You could find it online. There's a lot of horrible stuff that happened to me too. But I really do feel like that is where that seed was sown, where, I knew one day I was going to help other people. And when I saw, Hunter Moore's site, when I first went to isanyoneup.com, I've never said I have PTSD from anything that happened in my past. I actually have never even seen a psychiatrist or anyone. I feel like I've done a good job, compartmentalizing it. But when I saw Hunter's site, one of the very first images I saw, I thought it was this girl that was sexually assaulted, who had grown up, like her face, that everything was, I thought it was her. And it freaked me out. But then I was like, you know what? I'm going to completely destroy this guy's life. How can I destroy this guy's life, to where he never does this to someone again? And that's kind of where it started.
Wow. Well, it's thank God you're using it for good, because it doesn't always go that way, and I just hats off to you for you've been of service in the military for the cyber world now. And I personally am very grateful, because we have to we have to get control of this thing that we all use and all rely on and sort of become dependent on. And there are so many pernicious, problematic, I don't have enough vocabulary to sort of, you know what I'm talking about. There's just bad things happening on the internet all the time. And we have to, and you know, we're all, I don't know about you, but I'm a free speech absolutist, so I don't want the government really doing it. But we got to figure out a way to corral this thing, you know. And as you said, even just having your movie for junior high school age kids, there's something that's doing it. That's the kind of creative solutions we have to come up with. And then we have to make people pay who make it a toxic environment. Yeah.
Can you imagine being a kid in today's environment, growing up, and just the pressures of high school, and we're such a digital society. When I grew up, I didn't have a phone, and I would ride my bike from 9 a.m. till I came home at dinner after dark. You know, it was a completely different world than it is today. It's tough being a kid. That's for damn sure.
Yep. I'm watching a lot of enthusiasm for you on the restream here, so thank you for that. Let me look. They're also mentioning somebody else we interviewed here. I forget her name now. The woman that's going after Pornhub or all the hubs. She too has grave. Have you ever worked with her? The woman that is. Oh my goodness, we got to put the two of you together. Do you remember who that was? The name, Caleb?
I'm looking it up. I forgot.
She has a name that's hard to pronounce, but she is single-handedly taken down hundreds of thousands of hours of material that was put on these hub sites that was not consented to. It wasn't explicitly consented. Awesome. They had ways of just being able to put shit up, and she has single-handedly gotten rid of a lot of that. So somehow
that's awesome.
Layla Mickleweight.
Layla Mickleweight. Yeah, Layla Mickleweight. That is her. Yeah.
I have heard that name. I will. Yeah, that's awesome. You know, and once you give a woman her power back, look out, right? So, you know, I can't wait to hear her backstory to see what happened and how she got involved in it, because I'm sure there's a really good reason why she did. And I wish there was more people like her. I don't know her, but I'm looking forward to meeting her.
Super, super bright person, and just very, you know, as a friend of mine said to me, he was a Jewish gentleman. He goes, "What's the difference between a Jewish grandmother and a pit bull?" He goes, "The pit bull eventually lets go." And Layla is one of those people. Am I pronouncing? Awesome. Wasn't her first name pronounced a little differently? Like it's like Lila or something. It's pronounced a little differently than it looks. Yeah,
I thought it was Layla. I thought so.
It's Layla. It's spelled like Layla.
I'm curious, James, if you're staying on top of the NVEs, the nihilistic, violent extremist groups.
What is this?
I don't want to say their names, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about. So I get approached a lot. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. I'm going to preface all this. I am not into politics. I don't think I am smart enough to have intellectual conversations about either side, because I just don't know enough. And it seems like such a time suck. And I'd rather help kids and women and stuff like that online than deal with politics. Having said that, there was an argument that was going on online between a woman who was a Republican and a woman who was a Democrat. And it started to get pretty heated. And then this is factual information. I'm not taking sides. I'm just telling you that factual story. The woman who's a Democrat went on the dark web. She paid $5,000 for a professional stalker, which is a real thing. You can go get one at any time on the dark web, and paid $5,000. And let me tell you, she got her money's worth, because within 24 hours, the other person's email was hacked. Her husband's email was hacked. The school got hit with a bomb threat. She was swatted. Oh my God. Her entire life was over. And that was the only time I ever got involved in anything political, trying to help that out, because, you know, you call a bomb threat to a school, and I'm absolutely going to get involved. But it's such a toxic environment. So I'm going to avoid your question, because I think you know my answer.
Yeah. That's why we're not, I don't allow people to say the names of the groups here, because I just don't want them coming after us.
I know the groups.
We're aware. Yeah.
And I just stay very clear of all of that, because I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but, you know, other people go after it, and God bless them for what they're doing. But I would rather use my time to helping women and kids.
Right. And what I've noticed a lot of the people
and Dr. Drew.
Right. The people in these groups also tend to be kids themselves. So that's why it extra complicates it, is because it's kids causing suffering in other kids.
Yeah.
No, they should be. There always were consequences for actions at every age. I mean, there's got to be consequences. We can't live in a zero gravity environment that fosters sociopathy and problematic behaviors. Susan is bringing out all the droop stuff I see here and sending it to Caleb. Maybe you can forward all this stuff that she's texting us to.
I will.
To Jane.
He will.
I will. and Susan, do you want to read or make public your comment here about the commenters?
I mean, the guy came on and said, "Oh, he apologized and blah blah blah," but the responses on X were mostly from the left, obviously. Before we really knew how polarized this country was, yeah. But it was just terrible. I mean, I had to bat trolls like every day. I didn't even want Drew to see half of them because it was just, you're a quack, you're a charlatan, you're this, you're that. We lost, a ton of followers, but it was just like, wow, it's how people just turn on you and they just have to tell you what they think of you, how you're a horrible person. And, it was scary. And I honestly lost sleep for about a month trying to find this guy. And it's still up there. I mean, what's amazing is it's still up there. And we weren't allowed to say the word ivermectin on YouTube without getting a strike, but this guy could keep his video up for the last 6 years. So I just don't understand.
Maybe we can sue YouTube. Let's work on that, James, whatever.
Now we're on the revenge phase, right? Because we're going to find out who this is. And, revenge is never pretty, but when it's done intelligently, meticulously, and psychotically, I want revenge. I don't want revenge.
Susan, we've waited cautiously. It is best served cold.
I just want justice. I want to know who it is because I was like, is it an inside job? Was it somebody we know?
I worry that it's the government, and if that's the case, I want to blow that all over the place because that is disgusting.
I don't
the
know.
government's doing this to citizens.
We had kind of a little riff with a group right before that, and then that just stopped. It ended, and I was like, well, where are those guys? Why aren't they still coming at us? And I almost feel like they realize that they might have
I got to get to Gabe.
Gone over the line.
We've gone too far with this.
I'm not going to say who.
Thank you.
I'm not going to. Can't.
But listen, James, it is a pleasure and a privilege. Is there a place you want people to go if they need help, or is that overwhelming, or how do you want people to approach this?
There's two main places. So Bullyville.com is definitely the main spot, but even on Instagram, just look up Bullyville. The handle BULLYVILLE. And then people can DM me, and I will tell you that anything that involves kids, especially sextortion, jumps to the very top of the list because I don't want a child to unalive themselves because of what's happening.
Good, well done, James. All right, my friend, we'll talk again soon, no doubt. Right. You'll see where you are by the end of the day. So
yes.
If you have our man or gal, who knows? All right.
All right.
Talk soon.
Bye.
All right.